going to get started then. Hi guys, welcome. And just a little intro about running, things that I do when I'm not at but I just want to introduce why I love running. Or you get into running. Million questions you might have if you're into running, or if you're for races, or you just want to get off the couch and start running to do something else. And I want to make it interactive. Want to interrupt me at any time if you have questions. So, I'm both fine. So one of the reasons why I love running is literally anything can happen to you while you're out there. So sometimes you run into a 7-speed unicorn that sprays water while you run through the woods. So this was 10 days ago at a trail race, and and I came up to the 8th station, and literally they had parked that unicorn there. And again, it's really 7 feet tall. That's perspective of what it's moving, but it was actually 96 degrees in Kansas City, and I was so in love with that unicorn. So because there's water actually spewing out of the horn. So, and running is always the unexpected. Running is by far the easiest sport to get into. You really don't need much for running. Almost everybody can run. That being said, it's always, with your disclaimer, please always consult the doctor before starting off running. Make sure you're okay to run. But from any sport that you can think of to get started, because usually people have already most of the things they need in order to start up. There is really only one piece other than yourself that you need for running, and that is a running shoe. There is an asterisk, I'll come to that. But if you're just getting started into running, that's really the only no helmet, no pads, no stick if you're going trail running. But this is really, you can get away with just only buying a pair of shoes. Probably not quite that simple. Women actually, I have no experience myself, but I recommend one more piece of equipment, that is proper running sports bra. Just everybody, any woman has spent the money in that. It makes all the difference for running. So they won't wait, so that you come down again so they take the next step. So it really improve your running. So if you're a woman, you want to get into running, then invest money into a good sports bra that will help run. All right, I have one more equipment rule, and then it's really, if you're one to run a little, don't stop. If you run for a longer period of time, depending on the kind of weather you choose, costing cannot be your friend. It doesn't really matter when they in between seasons, like in spring or fall, but if you get into summer, things get very hot, start sweating a lot, then cotton obviously sucks up some of that moisture, and that can easily lead to irritation. So you really don't want to experience that if you're running longer distances. And in the winter also, you still sweat even if you run in the winter. And that means if you're running in wet clothes, you typically need to hypothermia. If you want a material that keeps the moisture away from your body, so your body doesn't fill up. So that's almost everything to get started from an equipment point of view. Back to the shoes. This is your very first pair of running shoes. You absolutely go to professional life and get properly, your feet get properly measured. There's a lot of things that can happen, and everybody asks always, what is the best running shoe? There might be a best running shoe for you and what you're doing, but there's not just one shoe. I mean, everybody right now is chasing the Nike Vaporfly 4% because it's supposed to take off 4% of your running. Or there's a multitude of reasons why that can be a horrible for either the way you start, the way you pronate when you run, if you're inside, outside. If you go to a wider scale, I'm looking at you, Carlos. You know, there's a lot of reasons why you might have horrible tubes in this country. So for your very first pair of running shoes, absolutely get measured by a professional. It always never hurts to go back a couple years ago, and because you can actually start running your posture changes, your muscle, your running class changes over the years. So in between, you buy a couple of pairs of Amazon, fine, but I would always encourage you to go to a professional place. There's one advantage about that, and I say don't go to a big box store to where some random college student points you in the direction of running shoes or read the label of I think this one is right. No, go to obviously the first thing we're doing is support local, support all operators, and usually those are the guys who share their love of what they're doing with the others. So there are two areas. There's running for kids, might be a little bit far from here. There's running itself. They have a couple of stores in the city and also on the south side. There's Southwest, and there's a whole running company there. People know what they're doing. And then you have Pixie, I put that in parentheses because obviously they're large enough chains, yet they still know what they're doing. They also have a very good running team, which kind of brings me to my next point is usually when you see a running store, there's also going to be runners going inside and out. I have never seen, a well-established running store where there's other content in and out of something. If there's not, you might be in the wrong store, So don't go to the sporting goods, don't go to the sports authority. Don't go there. Go to where people really specialize running. Usually these places also have group runs. Especially if you're starting out, it's very important that you stick to a plan. And everything is fun, especially when you're starting out as a group. So there's some advantages there. Also, this becomes more important in the winter months, or unfortunately, also if you're running alone, it's never a good idea. So running in a group is also good. People know where you are. People expect that you're coming back. So it's simply more fun. And there's always, what I'm doing right now, runners always want to talk about running. So even if you're running along, even in a group run, people are going to share their thoughts on races, their thoughts on training plans, their thoughts on shoes, just about everything. If you're running at a competition, most of the training runs, the runners will always talk mostly about I just brought some, sorry guys on the internet, I brought some props here. This is a Brooks Code. It's one of the most running shoes sold in the US right now. Again, may not be the perfect shoe for everybody, but this is a neutral, really standard running shoe. There's really nothing special about that. It's the Ghost of Brooks. The neutral running shoe, I'll pass it down, don't worry, I have to run it. By comparison, this is the what is it? But this is a trail running shoe. It's usually down. If you go to the grid, way more lug, basically to this is clearly a road running shoe, and the trail running shoe has obviously a very tight. Never run with this other shoe. If you go off the road, it has to be something that you're looking for that really good. Obviously, to start out with running, I recommend road running. You know, again, your only investment in the beginning is going to be a good pair of shoes. If you don't like running, you know, then spend some money on it too, but you can always know where to or maybe walk or so not much harm done. And then obviously it's very specialized. As with any other hobby, even in running, there is no upward end to how much money you can spend on stuff. About how many pairs of shoes you want to have, other something. When you get into running, you can have a goal, and that goal can be whatever you want it to be. The whole idea obviously is this should work for you. So there should be some type of reason why you should get into running, but you alone, uh, you know, have to be comfortable with that and take that to yourself. And so that might be the race system, or it might just be something more active, but if it's just like you start out with a 5K, 5K, 1 mile, very manageable. And all things possible, you can always walk 5K. Uh, uh, you know, that's a goal. There's a lot of from couch 5K plans. They're called that way. You can find them on the internet, or you can find them at your local running store. If you go to your local running store and they don't have an immediate draw where they go and they give you a printout of 5K plan, again, you're in the wrong store, because that's usually what they plan for. You know, they might have a group, they should have a group, and you know, everywhere really you can have, they'll give you a printout of a plan for the most common distance. The idea behind running is really find out what works for you. Running is supposed to be fun, and there are many variations in, you know, what that can be. Your pace, you know, some actually don't run, some walk. That is perfectly fine. Some run walk, meaning they're alternate uh, between running and walking based on a certain physics. There's a guy named Jeff Galloway who adapted the Fartlek system from Scandinavia. Fartlek is, I know it's funny, enough, Swedish, it means a play with feet. And so you alternate between different feet to also to catch your breath. And you can modify these intervals to whatever your capabilities. There's absolutely no shame in walking once in a while, because Mr. Galloway still runs the qualifier with a run walk style. And so you have to find out what works for you. There's plenty of people who run walks, even marathons. Then find the trail that's working for you again. Find the terrain, so you can either do road running or trail running. Some people love the road. Some people like being alone out in the woods. So that's for but that's also completely up to you. And then find what distance works for you. Obviously, you start out small. Some people graduate to longer distance. Nobody says you have to. Although plenty of fantastic runners that are faster than me that say, I've done the other stuff, but I really love the half marathon. And I'm always in training, and I'm able to run a half marathon like for the weekend. They're fine with that. They said, I've tried the marathon, it's not my thing. Half marathon, I just enjoy it. And it's all about it. If you're not enjoying yourself, then by all means don't do it. You know, that's Doesn't matter what anybody else says. You're supposed to be happy with what you're doing. You know, running is a must. If you're not, again, if you're not enjoying yourself, pick something else. That's the whole point here. Then, because nobody, is going to the Olympics, and nobody's going to be perfect at any of this. We have to say corporate talent in May. Everybody's like, and it doesn't matter, what you run, So the motto of Garmin, and I would come up with that, be different. You're supposed to be yourself. Like, you're not supposed to, yes, it's human nature to measure yourself and others, it's fine. But in the end, you're trying to better yourself. You're trying to come up with something that works for you. Come up, with an experience of it. And none of the other stuff matters. Again, nobody's going to Olympics. There were plenty of sprint runners who beat me on the Facebook ground. Doesn't matter to me. It's not my distance. I didn't go home though. Look up the 5 people who beat me and find out. That's really not that fun. Even an experience like that. There were guys out there that were running in G-Shorts, whatever. It's really the whole point is that you're supposed to enjoy yourself. There's a couple of optional stuff as you get more into running. One is some kind of measurement device. I'm doing things on purpose. Everybody thinks, you have to have a watch, you have to have a Garmin or whatever. When you start out, it's really not an investment that you actually do. Lots of people get overwhelmed by, it's more computing power than computational upgrade. So there's a lot of things that you can do here that, especially when you're starting out, you don't need all that. You need, if you want to measure your time, compare time, and cell phone is perfectly fine. And then when you know that this is something that you can still pick something that works for you, but it's really up to you. At some point, maybe much of then this is the cell phone. There's plenty of free apps, Runkeeper, Runtastic, Baba, iSmooth Run, the iPhone. There's a lot of stuff that is free and that's works perfectly fine if you start out. So don't, I know it's guys that over-obsess about gimmicks and, what was my watermark and where am I or where am I fast and everything, what was my app rate, things like that. Yes, all of that can become important, but, it's not necessarily that's the starting out. Music is another thing. Some people run completely without music. Some people have to have music. There's a lot of people who say, if I hear myself breathing, it's enough. So they actually purposely come up with themselves out of rhythm. Again, whatever works for you. The obvious thing is you want to be safe. You don't want to wear super noise canceling headphones where it's basically smoke running, where you don't hear, traffic or anything else that you should be aware of. And the other obvious thing when it comes to headphones is they should be cool. But again, it's completely up, as with everything else in running, whatever works. Once you start loading up with all kinds of stuff, at some point, think about belts. There's running belts like Pebbles come in different parts, different sizes. This particular one, now you can put your phone in here, you can put your keys in here. You can look at a rate switch. There's one where you don't have to use safety pins. There's some that have hydration bottles on this. We're going to talk about that, talk about hydration for a while. But there gazillion different brands. I'm just by no means an endorsement. You have to find out again also what's working for you, because some people like near spring, and some people in the summer they don't like how you sweat or pressure stomach. Definitely, you switch it around, wear it on your back. Go with a completely different belt, so really comfortable. So you have to find first. Again, if you have a good running sport, buy it there. If you don't like it, bring it back. Say, give me short credit or let me try it. That's perfect. Uh, Again, there's no end to what kind of goodies you can get. The one thing I will endorse, and this is probably what's called a soft, and the reason I love these things, don't ever buy these because you're going to do plenty of races and you're going to get these for free all the time. I bought my first two and now I have like 30 of them. This actually is from Brooks. They just had they also come to the local running stores. There's always going to be events at your local running stores. All the name players, the running business, they go out constantly to the running stores and they make events where you can try out their shoes for free. So they have, like, for example, running for free. Mondays, they always have a route run. And then sometimes these guys come out and they bring 200 pairs of shoes. And then you can come there and you can try out their shoes in the group run. Obviously, I hope you're going to buy them. But if you don't, that's perfectly fine. So you can try the shoes out, experience of the group run. And then, again, usually they have giveaways, sweatbands or books. But the reason I like these things is because you can use them at any school and for any you can put them around the neck. You can sweatbands, you can put them in as a bandana. You can, what I did in that race where I saw is, put it over your head. There's really a million things you can do with these. But I think in that uniform race, I put ice side, tie that together, and just stuck it down my neck. Till the next week. So I could survive that. So there's a million things every season how you can do. And I personally love it. Yeah, sweatpants. You have to find what works for you, how much you sweat, where you sweat, what you need. That will come to you as you're running. Everything like that to be more or less self-explanatory. Hydration. I see some people who come up with massive bottles for 5K. Unless it's 90 or 100 degrees, I don't know. I'm not. I don't need a lot of water on a 5K. So I know that they put the water stations out the 5K. If you can get away with it, it's fine. But beyond the 5K, you really want to think about how you hydrate yourself. And there are a couple of different options with your training. Usually at the race, yes, you will have water stations every 2 miles or sometimes people do it. And then if you sell with bottles in here or you're on the road, then obviously there's billions handheld options. Or if you do the long run, the ultras, you get hydration that either have bottles here or they have a hydration platter that you can hydrate yourself. There's a couple of them. And again, with everything running, you need to find out what works and you need to experiment. The other part is nutrition. It's when you run longer than 45 minutes, where most of the professionals draw the line. If you run more than 45 minutes, you need to think of some way to do a peak body goal. Um, if you go significantly beyond those things. So first of all, it's to run in the morning. You can run. Some people say running on it is a fantastic way to do what you did this morning. Yes, but that's going to get really tough, because at some point when your body runs out of carbon to convert, you'll know it. And you may go to your pace. It is a great way, but again, comes with, you need to push through that. What I recommend, especially when the morning is like a simple breakfast, just hard. Don't do fiber in the morning when you run, or especially when you run longer. Just a bagel with butter, something easy, something that the body can digest. When you're in a race situation or when you train really long runs, then there's a lot of options how you can experience yourself on the road. The most common form of these is like an energy cell. This is what is end out at the race of the marathon. They have them again in a gazillion different varieties, flavors, with caffeine, without caffeine. Some, like this one, you need to drink something after need. Wash it down. Some are a little more bulkier, but they have more liquid, so it makes it easier to digest. As with anything, this is a broken record. You need to try out what works for you. You need to especially try out what stomach can have. There's a lot of surprises that can happen to try out running. So there's some where you immediately rush to the next porta potty. So you definitely want to try this out. And there's gels, there's tubes, there's blocks. If you are at the local running store, you can see a different display of all kinds of stuff. But as you go into the longer distances, then you wanna try out what works for you. You want to try these things out during training. I'll come to that in a second. And then from a liquid perspective, there's obviously water. If you're looking for something more, there's the classic Gatorade. There's some other sports things that have come out specifically for endurance sports that are trying to be a bit easier on the stomach than Gatorade. Also less of that hard sugar that Gatorade has. There's Tailwind. There's Speed. There's a couple of others that are more specially formulated for runners. They try not to be such a gut bomb, such that when you're out there for maybe a couple of hours. But you really want to test, and you want to test during training. I think a lot of that because you want to test everything really before you do a race. And I would say, even when you do a 5K, at least you want to get started. You want to find out what you're going to wear. These obviously the most part, but you also want to lay out the clothes. You'll see a lot of runners. I'm sure you have them on you have friends on Facebook that post all of their runs on Facebook. I know that they're post every single thing. Some of these, before they do a race, they lay out a flat version of themselves, so they put the vision in their clothes, like there's the person on the floor, with this, and then they for race, they like, tomorrow I'll be doing this. But I would say, absolutely, just like for anything else, prep, what are you going to do, have a plan, and then try this, not on race day, never try anything new on race day. The race plan have gone, to race because somebody recommended something, you think, oh, I'm gonna do this, and the first day you try this out is on race day. It's something that you've never done before, and it improves your whole. Try to get into your rhythm, and again, never do anything that you have never done before. So obviously for who's the most important part, your clothes. Have a hydration strategy that works for you if it's a longer race. Same for me. Never, otherwise people looking at the porta potties not they try something, then that you haven't tried before. Also, be very careful when you mix and match different uh, nutrition stuff. So take a gel and wash it down with Gatorade, and send a lot of people to the next porta potty. I'm just pointing that out. Runners are very openly talk about their bodily parts, but also that can derail a lot of races. So again, if you want to find out what work to do, but be very careful to take a gel and wash it down. So usually people alternate between water and Gatorade, and if they're at a water station, they're picking up one on the other, depending on something. Then obviously, if you go for a race, enjoy yourself. I mean, this is really gotta be especially your first race. You always remember. You always have to put the place yard medal that makes medal. Even if it's just a 5K, you're gonna race experience something else. Even if it's a small neighborhood 5K with 200 meters. Locals that are just on, but there's something about that first race that's you, and hopefully if you hook for more. Once you've done your first race, obviously a couple of, there are the one and done people, but some people is like, okay, but now. So you can experiment, again, find out what works for you. Pick another distance, pick another terrain, as longer in distance training plans get more complex, also get very longer. Obviously, for a half marathon or marathon, you have to spend a lot more time on this 5K. You work yourself up to the peak. But again, it's all supposed to be fun. If you ever run a marathon, right, for example, there's a couple of things obviously that cover. First of all, Chicago has to be close to the crowd. So small marathons, some cap at 2,500 runners. Chicago usually is one of the biggest in the world. They're one of the 6 major marathons. In the 40,000 runners, with over 1 million of spectators. People always say there's some quiet corners on the course. I have to say, if the weather is nice in the Chicago Marathon, I have not stepped in a quiet corner at mile 20 something. If the weather is nice, spectators get out and off the course. Chicago is a special marathon because it takes you really through all the different neighborhoods, and so usually everybody's trying to put up a show. You have obviously you run through Chinatown, and they have the dragon, they have the dragon out. You have Hilton, you have a mariachi band or something. You run through Boys Town, you usually have a stage and drag, and it's a huge celebration in the city. And every year some other city comes out and tries to do something special for America. Every time I run Chicago, I have not had a quiet corner direct, unless it's a horrible weather where the crowd should stay away. But also that is something that you have to get used to, because that can also be huge, you're surrounded by 40,000 runners, and you don't have to run the marathon, you can run the Shamrock Shuffle as well. It's just a huge amount of people, there's a lot of energy in the crowd, and that energy is also fun. Suddenly, you're running a minute faster than ever run in training. And at the Shamrock Shuffle, you might get away with it. On the in the Chicago Marathon is short. So it's going to be important that despite all these outside influences, obviously enjoy yourself, but stick to whatever plan, the training plan that you have come up with. What you see obviously in the marathon that you're not supposed to much depending on yourself or you drink water, Gatorade, and other things, you'll have these food states. Those are truly a unique experience in itself, and it's something you want to practice. How do you slow down? And how do you take on something if you're in a race? How do you want to slow down to a walk? Do you run? How do you want to practice that? You want to experiment different things that work, different speeds, different strategies. Take on water, Gatorade, or also, if you're in one of the later corrals, by the time you get to the 8th stage, you might get rather sticky because it's obviously almost pure carbs. So the 8th stage can rather sticky, and the Gatorade is also a very sticky still sort of up on stage, and that is not a nice experience to wade through. Also, that is something to keep in mind. Something if you have a tolerate to practice, it's nice because it's not going to derail your marathon. It's also a great way if you go to one of these races, you have a chance to either drive the course in your car or bike the course on your bicycle to know what's coming. There are a couple different running routes that can offer, especially in Chicago, run the last miles of the marathon. Because typically if you do a marathon training, especially if you do a novice marathon plan, you never run more than 20 miles in the training. You have a novice plan. It's usually on the very first Chicago Marathon. You're not supposed to on your first training cycle. It can lead that you hit the wall somewhat. Again, 26 miles, you hit the wall, and suddenly it's more a mental thing. If you never run this far, you have no idea what you're doing. You think you cannot do it anymore, get self-doubt, and this is where a lot of people struggle, and it's purely mental. The longer the distance goes, less of an athletic challenge than it is a mental. Distance is a great equalizer when it comes, especially when you get into the ultra distance, beyond marathons. You'll see a lot of women that are, easily pick any men's ass just because they have a lower, especially on trail races, lower center of gravity. It's not less about the speed, it's more about the consistency and mental strength. From my experience, when it comes to ultra running, is women have a lot more mental strength than men to cover distance. I'm getting my ass kicked down on one of the circuits by a couple of women that are so powerful when the race gets long, and they're still hanging in there while I think I cannot go with my ass. But when you hit the wall, in order to prevent that kind of thing, familiarize yourself with the course and fly out. When you go around the corner, see certain okay, from here it's 6 miles. And then it becomes a much more manageable race. The more you can take a longer race apart in segments, the easier it's also going to digest for your brain. Now, if you have 6 miles left, that's a 10K. So you're kind of like, oh, I just have 10K to go. I know a 10K. I know what it's like. I've done, 3 dozen 10Ks in the last couple of months. This is manageable. And then obviously you get somewhere later and then it says, okay, it's just 5K from here. I've done 5K in my sleep. And so you want things to be mentally digestible. So if you are familiar with the course, then you can say, okay, from here, even, of course, there's mile markers. As you come around the corner, you recognize you're in Chinatown, you saw, and you hear from Chicago, and then it goes, okay, 6 months ago with 10K, becomes mentally much more difficult. So there are a few running teams in Chicago who, can meet as you get closer to marathon time, that drive you out with the school bus, drop you off in Chinatown, just so you can run as a group the last 6 miles of the course, which is mentally fantastic if you actually get to that point. And then, I've run here. I know what it's like, so, and it becomes so much easier. Being out there and you're like, oh my God, how much longer? I cannot take this. So it's a great experience. It's also a great group experience. So I always love this run the course. Uh, yeah. And then if you go beyond the marathon, it depends on how crazy, 50K, 50 miles, 100K, 100 miles. Uh, I've done 50K, 50K, 31 miles. So it's 5 more miles than a marathon. But the last 5 miles of the marathon are so great, you really don't want to do it twice. Sorry? I've done five, 50K on trail. So on trail, it becomes more fun, more elevation. But by no means, everybody, find whatever works for you. It just happens to work for me. I love to run out of course. I love for trail. On trail, you have elevation changes. No two courses are alike. It's very hard to compare time. But that's kind of the appeal. I'm not out there to break records. I'm not out there. I'm not going to the Olympic Games. Sorry. So because it's so unpredictable, measurement kind of eludes you, and then it becomes more about the run. Because I had marathons where I was so focused about the time that I wanted, that I was so upset when I didn't. And it ruined the whole run for me. And you run a marathon, and you're like 5 minutes over time, and because of that, you get in a bad mood. That's not a good thing. So, again, that's why I keep emphasizing what works for you. And then you have to figure out what that is, and then make it happen. If it doesn't, then change it up. Right? On sport, always run with a group. Again, everybody runs different. The running form is different from people. What I see, obviously, with a lot of women specifically, is that they calculate a lot when they run. And you lose a lot of energy. Obviously, your legs just move forward, but not inside. You're doing stuff that like you're supposed to, and B, again, you're losing a lot of energy. The longer you're ready to, more you doing that. So that's a very common thing I see in women. Again, one more reason why you want to do a group run, because you want other people to say, hey, can you watch my form? And then people will give you advice on what to do. Another obvious thing is that I see that people rotate their torso when they run. This fantastic exercise. Don't do this while you're running. Again, because you're losing, even people think they're getting a lot of energy this way. No, you spend a lot of energy. Every time you're rotating, or rotate your arms, with the rhythm of, don't rotate your torso because you're losing a lot of energy this way. It's going to pay you dearly. And you might end up, again, the longer you do this, the more you will burn. So, other than that, I have to say everybody is different. You have to really have somebody who knows their stuff. Usually when you run a group, there's going to be some pace leaders, some coaches, some training leaders. And runners will not hold back with their so high surface. Same as this. I don't really hold back. But they will look at you, they will look at, pronation and things like that. They will see what's working with them. Just ask and absolutely do it. lot of talking. Any other? Do I have a general nutrition plan when I train? Normally not, unless it gets closer to race day. Carlo always struggles when I have a race upcoming because he wants to go eat spicy food, and I don't do spicy food on race week, just because of the GI issues that can raise. And again, fiber is another thing. If you have a long run, you really want to cut down on fiber. There's obviously carb loading is a thing. Don't have to carb load for 5K. You really don't, but as you get longer, there's obviously all these pasta parties, that people do before a marathon or a half marathon. Pasta is a fantastic carb, to consume. Again, be careful with the sauce. What you is not too spicy, not too much milk products, dairy products in it. And also, if you've done marathons, then don't start carb loading the day before. Start carb loading the whole week. Yes, you're gonna gain some weight, but it gets your body used to that amount of carbs that you normally don't do. And the other thing is hydration. Don't start the day before with hydration. If you have a sports race, hydrate the whole week. Drink more water. I mean, drinking water is always good advice. On race day, even if you think you cannot see water anymore, keep it. Get one more. You should. You should. So the question is, run fast in the race and then training. You should, unless you do a tempo run. There's some training plans that include tempo run or track days. Where you are supposed to push your limit. So there are certain elements of a training plan where you are supposed to move your lactate threshold. Where your muscles turn sour, where your body cannot transport the lactate acid out of your muscles. Those are specific training sessions. You're really supposed to hit, your limit. But if you do your standard long run, always go slower. Don't, because this is gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna get, if you do your standard long run, don't train at risk. Oh, that's a fun. I want to do running. This is a myth. It's an interesting myth. People always say running hurts the knees. There's like a gazillion studies out there these days that says no. So it really doesn't. So if running, if to avoid impact on your knees. So the most important thing is gradually improve your distance. Don't start out, running 20 miles. You're supposed to, each week you're supposed to increase 10% of your race distance. You should gradually increase the load put on your body. And if you're healthy, again, consult your physician. Your body will adapt, and your muscles will strengthen also around your knees. If you have the right food, these will take you through a marathon. If you are ready and in training, then your body will take care. If you're healthy, you should not have to worry about your knees if you follow the right plan. So gradually increase the distance. Core training is fantastic. Yes, Carlos. Well, then you start again. What if your 10% is zero? So you start walking, and then you start run walking, and then if your first time you go out is a mile and you walk the mile, that is absolutely fine. I mean, we all we all started somewhere. I took 20 years of running. I stopped running after high school because at 19 running was boring and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I took 20 years of running. And now obviously mindset has changed a little bit, so I come back to it. But in the beginning, I think I ran 2 miles when I came back to running. It is what it is, you know. We all have to start somewhere. Just don't overdo it, especially the first time. Listen to your body, you know. You cannot move, you know, the next week, and clearly that was a little too much, you know. So go again. Those couch to 5K plans are a fantastic way to get started, and they really don't focus. I mean, again, in the couch to 5K plan, I don't think you run more than 2 or 2.5 miles over 6 weeks before you do the 5K. Again, if everything fails, you walk the rest of the day. There's no cross training. Cross training is fantastic because runners tend to be one-sided, you know. So what I particularly encourage is anything core related. Fantastic for runners, especially the longer you're out there. If you do exercises that strengthen the core, to keep your body upright, because you want to keep straight as you're running. When you get tired, you become hunched over, and then your breathing gets sloppy, and then everything becomes more difficult. Once the breathing goes, everything else becomes more painful. If you have a strong core, then you run more upright, and then the chances are that something else is going to be before your breathing does. So core is fantastic to work out. You know, any type of, and they're obviously in cross training with those type of core exercise. But that's absolutely what I would require as a addition to it. All right, let's see if somebody has a question here. Anybody online has a question? Right. Anybody else? You can always call me in that corner over there if you have questions, and you can always write me an email, come to you with a question. I know Kelly made the mistake of sending me some questions, and I responded with like 2 pages of answers. She said, "Whoa, that's more than I bargained for." So sometimes you have to, if I'm too enthusiastic about running, then I apologize. But, again, if you ask a runner, usually you say, "Thanks, guys, for coming out."